So from the examination point of view, this question is very, very important that we discussed with related to the uh, uh, equipment, that is SONET equipment or the structure of SONET network. So that we have discussed. Very important. You have to draw the diagram neatly and you have to explain each and every point of this. So it may be asked for 5 to 6 marks or maybe for 8 marks. And then we discussed about like this also, if you explain it, it can be sufficient. What is the task, or in a one paragraph, you can also explain what a multiplexer and demultiplexer will do and regenerator will do and so on. So like this, you can explain it. And next we will be discussing about the SONET layers, and we have discussed this as well. That is basically it has got like if you compare the OSI model, we have the data link layer and physical layer. So like that, it has got path layer, line layer, section layer, and photonic layer, and so on. So we are not going to in detail about these different layers of the SONET, but we'll be directly moving ahead with the SONET frame structure. Okay, like what are basically frames? What are frames basically? Where we will come to know about these frames.
Data link layer.
Okay, so what a frame consists of, or how the frames are made up of? It carries what basically? Frame carries what?
Logical address and MAC address.
Only that? Your data basically, why we define these things, that is frames, packets, and so on. So these are basically nothing but the uh, data packets, or say data elements, you can say. So in terms of a data link layer, we call it as frames. In terms of the next layer, we call it as the network layer, we call it as the packets, and so on. So basically in case of SONET, the data that we want to transmit, like we have discussed that we use the optical connections or optical carriers to carry the signals. So when it is carrying these signals, the data will be in terms of frames. So we are going to study about the frame structure of this SONET. So each synchronous transfer signal, that is the STS, and here they are specified, it can be STS 1 level or third level 3, level 9, and so on, is composed of 8,000 frames. Okay, so each frame is a two-dimensional matrix of bytes with 9 rows by 19 to n columns. So we're going to study about what will be the frame structure. For our syllabus, we'll be studying about STS1, or we can consider as STS frame structure. So let us talk about this. So this is the STS1 frame. This can be STS-N frame. So the meaning here is, for our study, we are taking only STS1 frame. So if you can take STS3 frame, STS frame, 9 level frame or 12 level frame, we have studied the different levels. Okay, in the earlier class, we have got different standards, and for our studies currently we are going to study this. So it is like a matrix. A frame is like a matrix consisting of entirely 810 bytes. So in terms of rows and columns, it is like a two-dimensional array, and it is not only just carries the data, but it will also carry some other information. Like in every layer, we add some headers and trailers. So similar to that, this frame will have some other elements apart from the data. So we are going to take this particular diagram, that is STS1 frame, in a bigger perspective now. So this is in nutshell, we can say that it is just a rectangular box, and it holds the capacity of 810 bytes. But how it is done, or what all the different elements that are included in this frame, let us see that. So the STS1 frames in transmission. So when we transmit these, or when they are in the transmission, this is how the first byte will be present in terms of rectangular squares, and then here we have the last byte. So that is left to right and bottom to top, and these are the transmission. During the transmissions, the each frame will be transmitted in this fashion. So basically a SONET STS-N signal is transmitted at 8,000 frames per second. So the capacity of this will be, per second it can transfer 8,000 frames. That is the capacity. and we are going to study about in one particular frame. Like this is one single frame. In this one single frame, how much data we can actually transmit. So this entire 810 bytes cannot be used to transmit the entire data. In that we have different sections. Only some part of it can be considered as the actual data of the user. So we are going to study about how much data we can transfer into that by studying the frame structure. And each byte in a SONET frame can carry a digitized voice channel. So that is one important thing that we need to study. So let's go ahead with directly with the structure of this. So this is the frame structure, or we can say the frame format of the STS, that is the SONET. So like in the small diagram, this is the diagram that we discussed. So I'm taking this in a bigger perspective, and whatever I have here, that is being shown in a broader way. So what all it consists of, basically, you can see that there are rectangular elements that we have, and we can say this is like a two-dimensional array consisting of rows and columns. So how many rows it consists of, how many columns it consists of, and what can be the size of each cell that we need to study. The SONET frame consists of basically a rectangular array of bytes, we can say, arranged in a 9 rows. So we have got 9 rows here. Like you can see that the section overhead consists of 3 rows and line overhead consists of 9 rows. So 6 rows. So altogether we have got 9 rows in this basically. And each row contains 90 bytes. That means if I take this one first, okay, so this entire thing can hold 90 bytes, or that is the capacity. So this can also hold 90 bytes and so on. So every row's size is what? 90 bytes. So how many rows we have? We have 9 rows. Okay. And every row can contain 90 bytes. So what can be this size of this entire thing? Size of the entire frame is what? Will this be equivalent to this 810? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Others, are you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so each row can contain 90 bytes, or we can consider them as the 90 octets per row. So what is an octet? Octet is nothing but 8. Okay, so that means 1 byte. So here we can say that there are 90 octets in each row. So the first 3 columns are allocated to section. So in this first 3 columns are allocated to sections. And the line overhead. So these 3 rows are given for, or they are meant for, the section overhead and for the line overhead. So out of these 3 columns, initial 3 columns that we have, the first 3 rows are meant for the section overhead, and the remaining 6 rows are meant for the line overhead. And it is interpreted and modified at every section termination. So why we need this section overhead? So it is required, or to check, like we have the headers for every packet or for every frames or trailers. So it will indicate the terminals. So that information we can add it to the section overhead. Again, in detail they have given what this particular byte will represent and so on and so forth. We are not going in detail about that. Just we will be explaining this diagram, and we are going to mention it as it consists of 90, each row it consists of 90 bytes, or we can say 90 octets. And first 3 columns are allocated for the section overhead and the line overhead. First, out of that, first 3 rows are meant for the section overhead, and the remaining 6 rows are for the line overhead. So what is the task of this section overhead? So basically this section overhead provides the framing, error control, and administration and other network management functions. That is the task of this section overhead. Like it is meant for the error control, like it will check whether the bytes are coming in the proper way or no, or all the error mechanism that we have studied, like it can be a checksum and so on. So those are the tasks performed by this section overhead. So it provides the framing error control, that is, it will check whether the frames are arriving in the proper order or no. It will check for the error control, administration, and other network management functions. So that is the task of the section overhead. So then we have the line overhead. So what this line overhead will do? So it takes up the remaining 6 rows and it is interpreted and modified at every line termination. So if you remember the earlier diagram, we know what is a section and what is a line. So what is a section and what is a line? We have discussed this. What is the meaning of section in Sonnet? Can somebody tell me if you remember this?
Connected to the Nebris devices.
So that we call it as the section. And then from one multiplexer to another multiplexer, or from one multiplexer to another add or drop multiplexer, we call it as the line. So this that we are discussing now, the line overhead, it is meant for that particular aspect. So it will be interpreted and modified at every line termination. That is, wherever we have this multiplexer or add or drop multiplexer, that time it will check its value or its position. So the remaining 87 columns of the frame are meant for the information that we called as like a payload. And again, in this remaining 87 columns, like we have taken this out of the 90 columns, we have considered the 3 columns first. So how many columns will remain? 86. Okay. So out of this 86, again we have another column. So this is meant for the path overhead. This entire column, it is meant for the path overhead. So this path overhead is included in the SP as the first column of this. Okay. And from there we can, the remaining whatever the space that we have, so that is meant for the data. So this is the place where we can actually add our data. So whatever data we want to transmit, that will be present only at this particular place. So this is the frame structure of this Sonnet. That is, for our discussion, we are considering it as STS1. And they have mentioned it as it can be STSN as well. STSN means what? We have discussed the levels. It can be STS3, it can be STS9, 12, and so on. So different level of STS that we have. So according to that, this will change. For STS1, okay, so it will be 90 bytes. For STSN, it will be 90 into those many bytes. So if I'm taking it as STS3, it will be 90 into 3. Here I'm taking STS1, so it will be what? 90 into 1, so it will be 90 bytes. But here, if I take STS3, it will be, n value will be 3, so it will be 90 into 3 bytes. That can be the size, and according to that, it will change. But for our discussion, we will be taking only this particular part. So this is the place where we are going to actually store our user data. So we call it as the synchronous payload envelope. Okay, so this is like a payload or actual data. So that we call it as the synchronous payload envelope. So this path overhead will be included at the beginning of this SPE. So it provides the Sonnet frame structure, basically provides a flexible and a robust way for movement of data. Are we clear with this, everyone? The frame structure.
Yes, sir.
Others?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So either this question or the earlier question will be 90%. I can say that it will be surely asked in the examination, because these are very, very important questions. That is the sonnet frame structure or the frame format, we can say, or it can be the sonnet equipment or the sonnet architecture. Read the question carefully, and according to that you have to write. Or they may also ask you the sonnet. About the sonnet, if they ask you as a short note, you can either write the sonnet equipment or you can write about the sonnet frame structure. According to that you can explain it. Can somebody tell me what all we are discussed in this sonnet frame structure? So to carry the data, what we are doing it, we are considering it as in terms of frames. So in terms of sonnet, the data that we are moving, it will be in terms of frames. Okay, so and what can be the size of each frame? The size of each frame will be 810 bytes. And how it is 810 bytes? It is because of this particular structure. It basically consists of a two-dimensional array, or you can say consists of rows and columns. How many rows it consists of? It consists of 9 rows. And how many columns? 90 columns, you can say, or you can say 90 octets. And each at every row we can have the 90 bytes of information. And the first 3 columns in this STS1 are meant for the section overhead and line overhead. And out of that, the initial 9 cells, we can say, or the initial 3 rows out of this 3 columns are meant for the section overhead, and the remaining 6 rows are meant for the line overhead. And then the remaining 87 columns, okay, so 90 minus 3, it will be 87. So remaining 87 columns are meant for the user data and the path overhead. So again, out of that 87 columns, the first column is entirely kept for the path overhead, and the remaining 86 columns will actually hold the data. So here we call it as the SP, that is synchronous payload envelope. So before that, a path overhead will be attached to this particular data, and the error control and network management tasks will be taken care by the section overhead, and then we have the line overhead. So it is meant for the interpretation and modification wherever it is required, where we terminate the every line. So there we have the task of the line overhead. So now if you go in detail about this, here you can see. So STS1 frame section overhead. So like this yellow color lines, 9 cells we have. So again, it has been named into A1, A2, C1, B1, E1, F1, and so on. So A1 and A2 are for the alignment, and D1, D2, D3 are meant for the management. E1 is for the order wire byte. So all these like informations, or they are used for the identification or the error control mechanism, parity byte, identification, and so on. For all this error control mechanisms, we use this section overhead. Are we clear with this, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So similar to this, we have this line overhead. For this, we are not going to write about these details in the examination, but just to show you the bigger picture of this line overhead. So every cell or every octet, we can say, is doing a particular task. Like B2 is for the line parity byte, H1, H2, H3 for the pointers, and so on. Order wire byte, management bytes, and so on. So we are not going to take in detail. Again, there are different information is given for the path overhead. Like in this particular diagram, we have considered it as path overhead as only one column. Here, only we are considered as one column, but again, that column will also have certain different tasks that has been named like this. Okay, J1, B1, so on. So they are meant for a particular tasks. And then the remaining whatever that we have, here we actually are going to load our data. Our actual data will be only at this particular place. So find the data rate, they can ask, find the data rate of an STS1 signal. So if STS1, like other STS signals, sends 8,000 frames per second. Okay, each STS1 frame is made of 9 by 80 bytes. So each byte is made of 8 bits. So what can be the data rate? The data rate can be like this. So this is how we can calculate the data rate. So STS1 data rate is equal to 8,000 frames. Why? Because for every second it can transmit 8,000 frames. And STS1 is made up of what? Every rectangular in this can consist of 1 byte of information. So octets we have. So each STS frame is made of 9 by 90 bytes. So each byte is made of 8 bits. So by taking this in account, we can get to know the data rate of STS1, that is 51.840. So the same thing we have discussed here as well. If you remember, we have calculated this, right? STS1, the data rate is 51.840 Mbps. How we got that? It is because of this. Are we getting it, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Others?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, for if you want to calculate for STS3, it will be like this: 9 by 3 into 90 bytes, because it is STS3. In case of earlier, it is STS1. So n is 1, so it is 1 into 90. So here it is 3 into 90. So according to that, you will get the data rate. So this time they may ask you for 2 marks. Calculate this data rate for this. So you have to give this as a solution. Okay, next we'll be moving ahead with the next topic, that is about the satellite networks. So a satellite network is a combination of nodes, some of which are satellites, that provides communication from one point on the earth to another. So basically, why we use satellites? Or who launches the satellites in India? Where we have that satellite launching pad, or where it is located, or who will be doing that? Anybody knows this? Or why we use these satellites? Basically, in general term, not in terms of communication, generally why we use satellite? Have you heard this term or no, satellites?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so like we launches PSLV, PSLV4, and its series goes on and so on. So they usually send these, they launch these satellites. Why they launch these satellites? Or
To
where they are
communicate.
used? Communication, okay. So like this, let us discuss about the basics of these satellites, or where we can use them, like for the educational purpose, or for the uh, telephone communication, and or for particular, say, like a sports and so on. So for all related different aspects, we can have the different satellites that can manage the information related to that. So like these satellites basically use, or they work on the microwaves. So they basically use the microwave signals, so that we can communicate with these satellites. So that what is a satellite network is all about. So basically, a satellite network is a combination of nodes, some of which are satellites, that provides communication from one point on the earth to the another. Like in the earlier case, we have studied about mobile stations, how the cellular telephony works. This is also similar to that. So instead of doing that, we can communicate by using the satellite networks, or by the satellite signals, by the microwave signals also we can communicate. So in this particular aspect, a node in the network can be a satellite, an earth station, or an end user terminal. Like it can be a satellite. When we want to communicate, there can be communication between a satellite and an earth object, or from my computer to a satellite, or an end user terminal, like it can be a router. I mean, here we are not going to take, I mean, it will be very funny if we take the terminal, but rather we can take it as a computer system, or it can be a telephone and so on. So by using this, we can communicate, or we can send the data, or we can receive the data by using the satellite networks. So before we are going to study, we have got the different categories of satellites that we are going to study. Basically, that is the GEO, MEO, and LEO. So these are the different categories of satellites that we have. Before going ahead with that, so these are the different categories of satellites, and we'll be studying about their characteristics for, and these can be asked for 4 to 5 marks. So what are satellites? It can be a definition, and what are the categories of these satellites. So before going ahead with that, we need to discuss some of the important concept, that is what are orbits, what are footprints, and so on. So what is an orbit? Basically, anybody knows what is an orbit is all about? Or we can discuss still more about the satellite networks. So they basically they provide the communication from one point to another point, and satellite networks are like, they are also like similar to cellular networks, in that they divide the planet into cells. So the entire planet can be divided into cells, and they provide the transmission capability to and from one point to another point, or from one end to the remote location. For that, these are the advantages or applications of the satellite networks. So the first thing that we can discuss about is, what is an orbit? The orbit is, like, we know that there are natural satellites and there are artificial satellites. So for example, we can consider moon as a natural satellite. Similar to that, we have the artificial satellites, that are man-made satellites that can be launched. So these artificial satellites need to have an orbit. Okay, so to rotate, okay, they should have a path, or we can say it is an orbit. So the path in which a satellite travels around the earth, that we call it as the orbit. So the orbit is the path. Okay, again, it depends on the direction, in which direction it will travel and so on. So the path in which a satellite travels around the earth, we call it as the orbit. So the orbit can be in 3 different ways. So that orbit can be equatorial orbit satellite, or inclined orbit satellites, or polar orbit satellites. So if a particular satellite, if it is moving in this particular direction, okay, then we can say it as like equatorial orbit satellites. Okay, and if it is in this way, we can consider it as the inclined orbit satellites, or if it in this way from North Pole to South Pole, we can consider it can be considered as the polar orbit satellites. So the orbit that we have, in this orbit, we are going to place the satellites. So whenever we launch the satellites, it will go and it will be fixed in one of these orbits, and according to that, the communication will take place. Recently, China had launched a particular satellites, and it did not go to a particular orbit, and it has some, it did made a damage. Have you heard this news, latest news, like maybe 15 days back, we had this problem, and the entire world thought that, like US and India and other researchers thought that it may land in some of the earth, and if fortunately it didn't land on the any of the country, but it landed, yeah. So if that was the case, then it was again had become a big issue. So whenever they launch a satellite, they will go and it will be fixed in one of these orbits, so that the satellites can move around the earth. So these are the categories of orbits: equatorial, inclined, or it can be polar. Then we need to discuss about what is a period. So it is the time required for a satellite to make a complete trip around the earth, or we can say one complete rotation. Okay, a satellite requires some time to rotate around the earth to make one complete rotation. The time that we have, it is called as the period. So it is the time required for a satellite to make complete trip around the earth, that we call it as the period. and this will be defined by the Kepler's law, or it will be basically defined it by the scientist called as the Kepler's law. We are not going to study in detail about that, but if you want for the information, we can consider it is like this. So what is the period of the moon according to the Kepler's law? So period will be calculated with a constant c that we have into distance raised to 1.5. Here c is a constant approximately equal to 1 by 100. The period is in seconds and the distance is in kilometers. So by using this, they calculate it. So if you consider that the moon is located approximately 3,84,000 kilometers above the earth. So they are considering c as 1 by 100 into this particular value. And what is the distance? The radius of the earth is 6378 kilometers to the power of 1.5. So if you calculate like this, it will be approximately these many seconds. That will be equal to 1 month. So for the moon is like a natural satellite. So for a moon to travel or to make a one round trip, it requires 1 month of time around the earth.
1 year of time.
One year. Let me just cross verify it. According to the textbook that they are given is as 1 month. So I will cross verify this, but according to this, they are given it as 1 month.
Sir, 1 month.
Yeah, that is what, because these many seconds will be equal to 1 month. Let it be. We are not interested in that. We'll go ahead with that, but I will confirm it tomorrow. Let it be. We'll go ahead with our next topic, that is the footprint. So one more thing that we need to study is about the footprint. So what is a footprint basically? So like if you take the diagram of a satellite, it will have two directional antennas, you can see here, and the signals fall on a particular place on the earth. So like these are the signals that are falling on the particular path on the earth, and this we call it as a footprint. So that means the signals will fall on one certain area or one certain particular region. So that we call it as the footprint. So signals from a satellite is normally aimed at a specific area. So that particular area we call it as the footprint. And the satellite process microwaves when they are sending these signals with bidirectional antennas, like we have seen in this diagram. So they have got bidirectional antennas. So with that, they send the microwave signals. So, and one more important point that we need to remember, like the strength of these signals will be good, or it will be strong towards the center of this footprint. But as we move ahead, or as we go far away from this particular footprint, the strength of the signal will be reduced. So the footprint, or we can say that the footprint is maximum. The power at the center of the footprint is maximum, and the power or the strength decreases as we move out from the footprint. Okay, so if in this case, if this is the footprint, and if we are in this particular diameter, so there will be a, like you can imagine like a radius of say some 10 kilometers and so on. So if you are within this, at the center of this particular footprint, then the frequency or the strength of the signals will be good. But as we move ahead, as we move far away from this center, then the capacity decreases, or the signals power will be decreased away from the footprint. And these satellite microwave communications are in the gigahertz range. So they will be measured, or the measurement that we are going to use is the gigahertz speed. And each satellites sends and receive the signals over two different bands. So we have got something called as the bands. A band is like nothing but a certain range, we can say, like from 5,000 to 10,000, or like say 5,000 to 15,000. Like this, we can have a band for the frequencies. Within that, it can choose any particular frequency level. So these can be of two types. One we call it as the uplift frequency, and another one we call it as the downlift frequency. So what are these two basically? Like we can say that these are the satellite orbits that we can have, and here we have something called as the uplink and downlink. So the transmission from the Earth to the satellite. So the transmission from the Earth to the satellite is called as the uplink frequency, and the transmission from the satellite to the Earth, from satellite to the Earth, we call it as the downlink frequency. So these are the basic things that we need to remember. So these can be also asked for 1 or 2 marks. What is a footprint? What is uplink and downlink frequencies? And what is a orbit? And what is a period? And in this, we can see that the uplink and downlink frequencies are different. They are not same. It is just to avoid the interference. Okay, so to avoid the noise or to avoid the annotation or the interference, they are using the different levels. So basically, from Earth to satellites, it will take little extra time. So the range that we are using or the frequency that we are using will be more always, but from the satellites towards the Earth, it will be easy. So we are using less speed for the downlink frequency. Are we clear with this concept? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
You can give your attendance.
Sir, it's 1 month only. It is the calculation of Purnima and others. Full moon day and half,
Yeah, full
new
moon.
moon
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. For 1 day, it is for self rotation. That is what we require for 1 day. Or to make a
Sir,
entire.
yes, it's 29.5 that it requires to rotate.
Yeah.
And the 30th days to change.
Yeah.
1 year is for rotation around sun.
Yeah.
Earth rotates around sun.
So that is why we get these eclipses on the full moon day, because that
Yes.
Earth and this moon will come one above the other.
Yes.
So we are not interested in that all details of physics, but just a brief information about how the satellite network works and what is the meaning of orbit. That is what I wanted to tell you. That's it.